Today, on a special edition of ELN Morning.
The university announced today that all classes will be moved online following spring break.
Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
What we've learned and the challenges still to come.
1 year after the COVID-19 pandemic forced classes online, we'll hear from the frontline workers and members of the senior class that never returned to campus.
Today, March 11th, 2021.
This is ELN Morning.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Ellis Chandler.
And I'm Ashlyn DeLoughy. With over 1,000 positive cases identified and over 50,000 coronavirus tests administered since January, today marks 1 year since President Connie Book sent students, faculty, and staff an email pushing university operations virtual following spring break.
And 1 year later, the university announced they have been allocated 200 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine for faculty, staff, and students working in person on campus. Those vaccines are set to be administered tomorrow, and those eligible must make an appointment in advance.
President Book sat down with our Baylor Rodman to discuss how the community adapted, struggles we faced, and how she sees ELN moving forward as more get vaccinated.
I will say 1 year later that, and it's difficult, the passage of time. Absolutely, when I sent that original email, I did not imagine the protracted nature of this disease, what would unfold for the American people in the world. In reflection, I have so much gratitude for where we are today, a year later.
Do you think that there's anything that, we've transitioned to that may stay with us long term, even after the pandemic is, and hopefully soon, finally put in the history books?
Baylor, I have this list I keep on my desk. Every time something happens that's a good outcome of the pandemic, I write it down because I'm trying to make sure I don't forget those learning and new tools. I mean, even just what we're doing right now, right, is that I didn't have this kind of equipment. I certainly didn't have the knowledge of how to use it. And all of those things are certainly assets that we want to continue to use.
How you really see ELN moving forward, not only for the fall, but this semester too.
I do think that I did get my first dose last Friday at Walgreens. And my second one is April 2nd, and I'm looking forward. I think the CDC's guidance this week shows us what a world might look like when we have herd immunity through vaccination by saying, hey, if you're vaccinated and it's post 2 weeks, those vaccines, you can get together with other vaccinated people and in a healthy, safe way. So I look forward to that, to the herd immunity from the vaccine that will allow us to be in communion, in learning together again.
To hear what President Book had to say about what to expect this fall, visit elonnewsnetwork.com and search President Book.
At first, we were only leaving for 2 weeks, then 2 more, and then the rest of the semester. Our Maeve Ashbrook spoke to class of 2020 alumni whose ELN journey, at least on campus, was cut short.
Imagine if it had only been 2 weeks and we didn't know that it was going to be like the rest of our senior year was over, and the fact that we were crying over just losing 2 weeks was just, it's just crazy to think about now.
Class of 2020 alumna Bella Branham left ELN last March and never came back.
It took me a long time to move on from that because I was like, wow, I can't believe I had to leave ELN, didn't get to say goodbye to my friends, my professors, or even like move my stuff out.
CJ Porterfield only returned for a few hours to move out.
I made like a 6-hour playlist of songs that had the word leaving in it.
He says he never thought the weeks leading up to the announcement would be his last.
Life moves on. Like it doesn't discount the other 3 years I spent here.
Branham says nothing ever gave her the closure she needed until she started her job in Atlanta. She's still hoping for an in-person graduation ceremony. But Porterfield is indifferent.
I'll feel like an old person, like elderly, like walking around, be like, oh yes, here's where I had coffee and I went to have lunch here 2 times a week.
He says he'll plan a visit when he can, sometime in the near future. Maeve Ashbrook, ELN Morning.
As most ELN students dealt with leaving campus, those studying abroad were among the first to be sent home. One being ELN senior Ana Iguguren, who was studying abroad for her second semester in Spain. She says she was in denial after hearing her program was sending her home.
I packed my entire life, my apartment. I talked to my landlord. I talked to everyone in 2 hours. My clothes were hanging outside wet because I was just in the middle of my day, you know?
Now, a year later, with abroad programs beginning to open up, Elon Jr. Michaela Broach is currently studying abroad in Ireland. The country is still in lockdown. While most of her classes are online, Broach still saw this as an opportunity to live in a place other than North Carolina for the first time.
One of the main things I want to accomplish this semester is sort of just continuing to step out of my box, I guess, because I have a pretty, not stagnant, but pretty routine life at Elon. And I feel like here I've been able to sort of explore more and really figure out what it is I enjoy doing.
While most of Elon's study abroad programs were suspended or delayed, 52 students were still able to participate in their programs.
Carla Leaf
Coming up,
recalls
how
working for the
county healthcare workers went from the clinics to the front lines. ELN Morning returns in 60 seconds. The latest from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says those fully vaccinated can meet together inside, but are still recommending everyone wear a mask in public. Getting a vaccine could be a sigh of relief, but university physician Dr. Jeanette Archinall urges everyone to not let their guard down just yet.
I saw somebody at the grocery store on Saturday who's also in healthcare who is fully vaccinated. She's fully vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated. We hugged each other, but we still have our masks on, and we would keep our masks on. So embrace it, but be very careful.
In terms of increasing gathering limits, Elon Town Manager Richard Roedner says the town plans to keep capacity at 10 indoors and 25 outdoors.
If you ask Carla Leith how the COVID-19 pandemic changed her job, she'd say it changed everything. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, she's one of more than 450,000 North Carolinians who work in healthcare. Brian Ray spoke with healthcare workers in Alamance County about how the pandemic is affecting their work.
family nurse practitioner Carla Leith recalls working for the county health department when the pandemic hit, sending half the nurses from the clinics to the front line.
Not having enough people to work so that people could get the services that we would normally give, because you're just limited. You have one person running an entire clinic, you don't have the appointments.
Today, Leith is doing telehealth appointments from home, which comes with a new set of challenges.
Not been able to connect because they don't have Wi-Fi, or the service is not good.
United Healthcare case manager Shania Toole,
how are you feeling?
Oversees elderly patients plus people with conditions like COPD and heart failure.
It's really stressful in trying to convince them that they really need to be safe and they do need to, have care. They have all different type of conspiracy theories.
A registered nurse of 18 years, Toole says she struggles not being beside patients.
Are we doing enough on outside the bed? So not being at the bedside. And so, we have been trying to make sure that we provide our patients with enough information so they don't have to go into the hospital.
Despite working 6 days a week, Toole is volunteering to give out the vaccine.
The healthcare worker, that's what we do, we help.
Helping raise awareness about COVID-19 brings Leith a sense of pride.
I do everything we can do to make sure that this is eradicated so we don't have to revisit this script again.
Brian Ray, ELN Morning.
Leith says one of the hardest challenges is her father not being able to meet his new great-granddaughter, which she hopes will change when he gets his second dose of the vaccine.
Coming up, we'll bring you some more general news of today, including the state of the race for the SGA Executive President. Two Elon Juniors are going head-to-head in the Student Government Association's Executive President election. I got a chance to speak with both candidates to learn more about their platforms.
The top spot in the Student Government Association. Both executive president candidates began their virtual campaigns earlier this week. Corby currently serves as the class of 2022 secretary and Rosiak as the class of 2022 vice president. Corby and Rosiak both say their campaigns are reflective of the challenges the university faced this past year.
This year we've been through a lot of turmoil, hardship with the COVID-19 pandemic, with the reckoning of race after this June with George Floyd's murder, and a very polarizing election.
Echoing his opponent, Corby hopes to bring the ELN community together by improving the communication errors he noticed in the university's response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Realistically, we have a 19-person Ready and Resilient team that was formed last April to kind of combat COVID and plan for the 2020-2021 school year. And while we were all online, it was hard to get student opinions, but of that 19-person committee, not one student is on it.
DeLough's platform includes the initiatives of community, spirit, and openness. His main priority is to foster transparency between the student body and the administration.
Making sure that they're fully aware of it, because that is what is going to make the public confident. They're going to feel more aware of everything.
Corby's platform is based on what he refers to as the 5 C's: continuity, communication, community, culture, and care.
Just understanding DEI holistically. So understanding it's 2 separate issues, diversity and inclusion, and there are 2 separate initiatives.
The 2 candidates will continue to virtually campaign over the next 11 days.
Voting for SGA candidates opens on Phoenix Connect at 9 a.m. on March 18th and closes at 5 p.m. on March 19th.
Business at Pandora's Pies is down about 10% from when the restaurant was ordered to stop indoor dining. Our Margaret Faust has more.
Pandora's new owner, Lincoln Franchel, bought the restaurant with front-of-house manager Kimberly Holt just 3 weeks ago. This happened right as business started picking up.
I mean, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, for the first time in the last 8 months, we've been pretty much full.
Franchel says the restaurant's $400,000 loss in sales since March brings many changes. The restaurant has adjusted pricing, given servers more hours, and raised their wages. He is glad customers can once again get the in-person experience.
I mean, when you don't have people in a restaurant, you don't have a soul to a restaurant. You know, like having people in here every day gives a restaurant life. You know, when you're just looking at a screen or you're just on the phone all the time, you don't have those human interactions.
Franchel expects to make up for the 10% drop, but Holt says the one thing still lacking is tipping.
But when it's just to-goes, I mean, some people just don't feel the need to tip, but it's like, this is what pays a lot of these people's bills. Not everybody is a college kid that their parents pay for everything. You know, we have people supporting 3 children.
At Pandora's, before wages were raised, servers made $2.13 an hour. Despite all this, Franchel is optimistic.
We're fighting our way back, and we're going to be continuing to fight our way back, and we're grateful for the business that we have currently.
Margaret Faust, ELN Morning.
That's all the news we have for you today. Thanks so much for joining us.
We're taking some scheduled time off from our broadcast next week, but as always, for all the news you need to know when we're not on the air, visit elonnewsnetwork.com.
And follow us on social media at Elon News Network.
Have a great week, Elon.